And now let me welcome our guest here. Delighted to have you. Joining me is North Carolina Republican Greg Murphy, who is certainly a part of the Ways and Means Committee, is also one of those people who has to make a decision here. And so thank you for being here and coming from across the street to join us. Notably, you told Punchbowl News today that you were having a hard time getting to the point where you could be a yes for this package. And that makes me wonder, does that mean you're a no?
Well, Kelly, I think you have to frame things. I've been a physician that's worked in rural eastern North Carolina now for over 30 years. I actually saw Medicaid patients yesterday. So I've seen it. I see it on the ground of what's going to happen. We have a system that's broken. We had an enrollment during the last administration where the CMS director, her job was to enroll as many people on Medicaid, whether they were eligible or not. You have government programs that are for the most distressed. Medicaid is supposed to be for impoverished children, pregnant women, disabled,
people with disabilities.
Yes. These are the program it's supposed to be for. It's not supposed to be everything for everybody. What we want individuals is to be able who can work to go out and get insurance from their companies. That's really the best. We also had a system that has happened with this provider tax, which is in the 80s, that has turned into this massive rebate program from the federal government, drawing down more dollars. When I was in the General Assembly in North Carolina, they talk about how well we did this. We can pull more dollars down from the federal government. That's why we're at $37 trillion in debt. This is threading a difficult needle. I've been on the phone nonstop for the last 96 hours, talking with hospital presidents, talking with other individuals, HHS members from North Carolina. How do we thread this needle? The good part here is that Senator Murkowski was able to get a $50 billion rural fund in there. The devil is going to be in the details.
You have questions, though, right, on how that would be dispersed and who would qualify?
Sure.
Are you getting any assurances that you think are enough to result in a vote?
Well, I have good relations with lots of folks across the state of North Carolina. What this has to be funded for is we don't need systems that just get money just because they have Medicaid patients. I'm in a district in eastern North Carolina where if you took the 29 counties that we serve, if you made them in a state, we'd be one of the poorest in the country. Then you have other places in Charlotte, while they may still have the same number of Medicaid patients, they have a lot more insured patients, which actually pay the bills. We have to find a system working with our state government that puts that money where it needs to be.
So are you seeing patients in the last few weeks, perhaps, who would, in fact, lose their insurance?
Well, you see, this is a misnomer by Democrats because they're talking about people losing insurance. These are people who should not be on Medicaid to begin with.
I understand that argument, that you say they wouldn't qualify under new rules or rules that...
No, they don't qualify under old
present rules. So that leads me to believe that they would, in fact, lose their insurance.
Well, they shouldn't have had Medicaid to begin with. And so this is, again, we have programs. You know, I'm not a veteran. Does this mean I qualify for veterans benefits? No, it shouldn't be that way. And so let's get government back to what it's supposed to be doing for the people who need it.
So that sounds like a yes to me. Have you made a decision?
I've not made a decision yet.
And what will it take to finalize
I hope to talk to the president this afternoon because I want to tell the story of eastern North Carolina, the system where I've worked for 30 years, how it will affect it, and how do we navigate our way out of this with this other fund.
One of the things that struck me is Senator Tillis, the senior senator from your state, had raised the issue of, is the president getting all the best information about what is happening on the ground level and what would happen to this? As reporters, when we've talked to the president, he says no one is losing their benefits, just waste, fraud, and abuse. It sounds like there's somewhere in between in what you're saying. So what do you think the president needs to understand, and do you expect him to be open to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, our president cares about this country. He really, I mean, honestly, I wish people and Democrats would see how much this president cares about this country. He wants to know things, but he also understands we are careening towards a financial cliff that will literally destroy this country. We cannot do business as usual. Yes, is part of this Medicaid, is part of this other programs? Absolutely. I think he does care about the average American and where we are in trying to deal with these issues.
One of the things I'd like to do is get a sense from you about what Senator Tillis did say on the floor. I believe we have that clip. If we could just look at that, it would refresh our memories here about what he says is likely to be a result of this bill in your state.
Yeah.
Let's play that.
So what do I tell 663,000 people in 2 years or 3 years when President Trump breaks his promise by pushing them off of Medicaid because the funding's not there? Republicans are about to make a mistake on health care and betraying a promise. It is inescapable that this bill in its current form will betray the very promise that Donald J. Trump made.
Do you see it as a betrayal, sir?
Well, I think you have to look at a full equation here. And look, I get along great with Tom Tillis. I think he's a patriot that cares a lot about his country. I don't agree with all of his calculations, though. You have to look at what happens with other payments that go. Medicare Advantage, for example, is a fraudulent system within federal government as far as Medicare. There are a lot of reforms that we need to do that will plus up a lot of the systems of hospitals where they get money, which helps out with this tremendously. We
focused a lot on the Medicaid piece of this, but you also have concerns about the deficit. You were a guest on this program back in May, and I want to play something you said when you were with us then.
The most important thing I'm concerned about right now is the growth of our deficit. You know, bond markets across the world are saying, well, gosh, can the United States pay back its loan? Are they going to default on their debt? And if so, 1929 looks like a spring holiday. We cannot allow that to happen. We want pro-growth policies that allow companies to invest. And guess what? They employ more people, giving them meaningful work. But at the same time, we don't want to, grow on our deficit.
So you remember that.
Sure.
And, of course, this measure, according to the CBO, is going to expand the deficit by as much as $3 trillion. Yeah. I know there are some criticisms of the CBO, but how do you square that?
Yeah, look, I would love to be able, I'm a scientist by nature. This is a surgeon. I'm sorry, I take things for fact. The CBO is right often as they are wrong. That said, you can't look at the deficit just as a single number. We have to look at the delta between the growth and the GDP ratio between our debt. If we can grow this economy greater, the CBO estimated our growth to be a paltry 1.8%. That's absurd. That's ridiculous. We grow the delta between our GDP and the debt, we're not going to be able to pay back our debt.
But there's a leap of faith in that as well.
Yeah, but it's also a very, very educated guess on pro-growth policies that are put forth in the other parts of this bill that we can get there. And by the way, when we do that, we employ people. We give them jobs. We give them self-esteem. Most of all, we give them health insurance, things that Medicaid doesn't need to be supplying.
When we look at the political picture of what all of this may mean on the campaign trail, we've seen how Tom Tillis and Don Bacon have both decided to step away after they've been targeted by the president or disagree with the president, don't feel they want to engage politically anymore. Do you think this is something that will have an impact on your party, and does it affect how you feel about your own vote?
Well, I try to, honestly, I don't have to do this job. I can go back and be a lowly surgeon. I still love being a physician. That's who I am, more importantly. I really, truly, truly try not to make politics as part of my decision. I know some other members have to do that. We're here to do the right thing for the right reason. Sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes you have to hold your nose and vote for things that you don't want to look at the bigger picture. I don't know if Tillis this was just the last straw on him deciding not to come. I don't know what Don Bacon's issue was. We have to do the right thing for the American people because sometimes it's difficult to take bad medicine that you don't like tasting to make yourself better. The nation does not understand how we are as a nation as far as our finances. They don't have a clue. It's beautiful outside. People are driving, getting ready for a holiday. We are careening towards a fiscal cliff. We have to do something about that, and hard and difficult decisions must be made.
I hope we can touch base with you after you have your chat with the president and see where you land on this, because obviously the speaker and the country, everybody's waiting for a vote like yours.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Kelly.
Appreciate your time. And